Makofi, makofi.
Ni shujaa na baba we. Ni shujaa na baba wewe. Ni shujaa Raila Odinga. Ni shujaa mzalendo. Oh, ndio maana tunasema ni shujaa. Ndio maana tunasema ni shujaa. Oh, ndio maana tunasema ni shujaa. Oh, ndio maana tunasema ni shujaa. Ni shujaa Hussein we. Ni shujaa ndugu Hussein. Ni shujaa.
Asante sana.
Ni shujaa na mama wetu. Oh, ndio maana. Oh, ndio maana. Ndio maana.
Asante sana Betty.
Oh, ndio maana.
Asante wazalendo wenzangu, niombe tukiwalia kusimama. Ndugu Philip Tale, utuelekeze kwa ratiba rasmi ya kuanza hafla rasmi. Karibu.
Thank you, Maurice. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this occasion. We have not come here to mourn, neither have we come here for a wedding. We have come to celebrate the freedoms that we have fought for and we need to protect and defend. Our band, give us the Mapapano anthem. The national anthem, then it will be followed by Mapambano. National anthem, East Africa. That is the Mapambano anthem. you very much. Tuketi chini tafadhali. Your Excellency Honorable Raila AMOLO Odinga, the Honorable Yusuf Hassan, Member of Parliament for Kamkunji constituency, Senator Dr. Oduor Ong'wen, Senator of Siaya County, Mheshimiwa Opiyo Wandayi, our leader in the National Assembly, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this occasion. It's not going to be a long event, but a short one with a lot of activities and memorable stuff that when you live here, you'll go home saying, Kenya is a great country. Napoleon Bonaparte, a French revolutionist, said, never interrupt your enemy when he is making a mistake. I hope you note that. Many years before him, George Washington, the first president of the United States of America, said, if freedom of speech is taken away, then dumb and silent we may be led like sheep to the slaughter. Guard against the impostors of pretended patriotism. Then some years after him came Mao Zedong, my favorite, the chairman and founder of the People's Republic of China, who said, in time of difficulties, we must not lose sight of our achievement. Then there was a great Mutabaruka of Jamaica who said the following in the following poem. Please give it up.
Our next guest is a legend, is a true hero of mine, and so many others, and it is real honor and pleasure to have him here tonight. From Kingston, Jamaica, please give it up for the original Mutabaruka.
This poem shall speak of the wretched sea that washed ships to these shores, of mothers crying for their young swallowed up by the sea. This poem shall say nothing new. This poem shall speak of time, time unlimited, time undefined. This poem shall call names, names like Lumumba, Kenyatta, Nkrumah, Hannibal, Akhenaton, Malcolm, Garvey, Haile Selassie. This poem is vexed about apartheid, racism, fascism, the Ku Klux Klan, riots in Brixton, Atlanta, Jim Jones. This poem is revolting against first world, second world, third world, division, man-made decision. This poem is like all the rest. This poem will not be amongst great literary works, will not be recited by poetry enthusiasts. It will not be quoted by politicians nor men of religion. This poem is knives, guns, bombs, blazing for freedom. Yes, this poem is a drum, a shanty, mama, Igbo, Yoruba, Nyabingi warriors, Yohuru, Yohuru Namibia, Yohuru Soweto, Yohuru Africa. This poem will not change things. This poem needs to be changed. This poem is a rebirth of a people, a rising, awakening, for understanding. This poem speak, his speaking, have spoken. This poem shall continue even when poets have stopped writing. This poem shall survive you, me. It shall linger in history, in your mind, in time, forever. This poem is time, only time will tell. This poem is still not written. This poem has no poet. This poem is just a part of the story. His story, her story, her story. The story is still untold. This poem is...
Thank you very much. I want to welcome my friend, Mtumishi Cyprian Nyamamu. And before he comes, I want to welcome the Field Marshal Band to sing to us the song, A Luta Continua. You know how important this song is in the fight for liberation. Samora Machel was not stupid when he said these words. He meant it. We need to have our struggles continued. The Field Marshal. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Let me welcome Mtumishi Cyprian Nyamwamu.
They are right here. They are right here. I thought the Field Marshal's band. Welcome them on stage. Give them a big round.
Let us remember to remember. May we remember not to forget. Let us remember to remember. May we remember not to forget. Let us remember the great Mekatilili Menza, queen from Giriama land. She who was stolen by the colonial terrorists and taken all the way to Gusii land. Mekatilili Menza, she broke out of prison and walked back more than 1,000 kilometers to Giriama land to continue with the liberation of our people. Let us remember to remember. May we remember not to forget. 1922, Mudhoni Nyanjiro, outside the Central Police Station. She who went to protest against the jailing of the people's freedom fighters. And when the colonial settlers saw this, they shot her in the heart, and her blood flowed down to the ground, mixing with the soil of our land, germinating the seed of our national struggle, the Kenyan Land and Freedom Army, the Mau Mau. May we remember to remember. Let us remember not to forget. Let us remember JM Karaoke, remember not to forget. Bildad Kagia, remember not to forget. Kongo Karumba, remember not to forget. Oyangi Mbaja, remember not to forget. Let us remember not to forget. Chelagat Mutai, not to forget. Jean-Marie Serone, not to forget. Alexander Kipsang Muge, not to forget. Not to forget. Not to forget. Not to forget.
My people, open your eyes and answer the call of their drum. Frelimo, somewhere my shell, somewhere my shell, as one. Mozambique, yeah, I look to continue. Mozambique, yeah, I look to continue. Mozambique, yeah, I look to continue.
Tafadhali tusimame tuimbe huu wimbo pamoja. Ni wimbo ambao unatukumbusha mambo mengi. Let's be upstanding and sing along this Field Marshal Band. The song is Aluta Continue. Thank you. Tafadhali, aluta continua. Thank you very much. Let's get seated. Asante sana. Mtumishi Cyprian Nyamwamo.
Thank you very much. My brothers who helped us before the Marshall's Band. This is a revolutionary and ideologically conscious group, and we are very happy that they are here this evening. And as my brother has told you, we are going to have a very compact program. This hall is packed with revolutionaries, people who have been in the struggle, who have been in the trenches. And our chief guest tonight has come to cap and really show how important this occasion is. And I want to start off by really thanking my brother Oduor Ong'wen for making this possible. Can we please put our hands together for Comrade Oduor Ong'wen? Oduor Ong'wen, as you taught us in our underground classes, you told us that the pen is sharper than the bullet. This pen that has written this book, Stronger Than Faith, is truly sharper than many machetes and many bullets and guns. And to that, we really say hongera, kongole, kongole ndugu yangu. So we are going to start off the program with our first speaker very briefly, my brother Njuki Githethwa. Njuki Githethwa is a comrade who has been with us for many years. Please let's welcome Njuki to make his remarks. And as Njuki comes, I want to recognize some of the names that I have been given. Njuki, as you stand there, my brother had done the honors of recognizing His Excellency Raila Odinga, Dr. Odour Ong'wen, Professor Makau Mutua, our mom, Wau Kahara, Mheshimiwa. Now the front row has many more people. The chief, one of the key speakers, Honorable Yusuf Hassan. Of course, Oduor, Mheshimiwa Wandai. I've seen other honorable members, Felix. I don't know whether we are allowed to call you Jalango even in occasions like this. But I'll check the answer how you are referred to there. I've seen colleagues like Honorable Karoli and many others, Honorable Catherine Muma, Honorable Hamida Kibwana, and of course Zain Abakar. I saw Zain Abakar right there, Mheshimiwa. Senator Agnes Zani, my sister, thank you so much. We have honorable members of the County Assembly of Nairobi, led by the Speaker, Honorable Ken Ngondi. I saw him. Where is the Speaker of the Nairobi County Assembly? Thank you so much. Karibu sana. And that team is big. I've seen Robert here. I've seen Mheshimiwa Ogeto. I've been given names like Honorable Abbas Khalif. You can just raise your hand. Mheshimiwa Abbas Khalif, Honorable Peter Imwatok, Mheshimiwa Imwatok. Honorable Ogeto, wherever you are, thank you so much. I saw the Honorable Paul Mwangi, we also call you Honorable these days, by force, by fire. I've recognized Mheshimiwa Jalango, Mheshimiwa Caleb Amisi, right here, thank you so much. Honorable Mwandawiro Muganga, the chairman of the Communist Party of Kenya, seated with the professor right there. Very, very honored to have you here, Professor, today. And the list is long as the names come. Suba, I've seen you here, and very many colleagues, Modoni, Kamau, of course, as part of the band. So thank you so much. I will invite my brother Njuki Githethwa to start us off with these brief remarks. Mheshimiwa Njuki.
Yeah, thank you so very much, Comrade Cyprian Nyamwamu. His Excellency, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, distinguished elder Comrade Oduor Ong'wen, members of Parliament who are here, honorable guests, our friends and comrades, all protocols of bow. I think first of all, I've been asked by Ong'wen yesterday to come and say some few words. I will not say much. But one of the things that is important is to thank him so much and congratulate him on our behalf for coming with such a wonderful book. I think I was the first one. I think straight away, I think from the press, even before you could get it from Vita Books. I think I was there, and I think I was the first book that was given by Kimani. And you can't believe it, I'm almost read almost 300 to some 400 pages of the book. It's a very engrossing book that you can't put it down. But before I begin, I would like us all of us to stand for a few seconds. But I want us to reflect on the comrades we have lost in the struggle. There are so many people Ong'wen has dedicated the book in the few pages of the book. But I would like us to remember the comrades we have lost in this struggle for liberation in this country. And you know them. So 1 minute, we stand, all of us stand. And you remember on your own the comrades we have lost, people like Karimi Ndudu, people like Atama Mkangi, Wangare, Adugosi. You sit 1 minute and remember all those comrades before we go ahead. Thank you. Sit down. I think to start with is to say that this book for Comrade Odour Ong'wen, Stronger Than Faith, it fits in the entire process of comrades coming up with books of the struggle. And there are many now who are writing. Like, for example, this morning I received a whole book again, almost about 4 chapters from Nugumugo Theuri, who was jailed for 5 years from Kenya. We have got books here from people, even His Excellency Raila has written a book. But we have got so many people like Ngodo Kariuki. I know Ong'wen's, I know Onyangolo's manuscript is still in draft form. I think the sister is here and she knows very well. I've got a whole manuscript that is written even by Kangele Mungai and the Mokenya struggles. It's still in manuscript form. But we congratulate those people who have been able to document these memories. But the only reference that we always get when we tell comrades that write your memories, write your reflection, they always tell us the struggle is still ongoing. The struggle is not over. And the question I always ask, yes, the struggle is ongoing, and now it will even become much more deeper and serious for all of us. But we know the saying that the struggle is long and protracted. It will never end. So as long as you write your memories, and you don't write memories for the sake of yourself, you write even for the younger generation. I think this is exactly why this book is important for us, and that's why I could not put it down even when I was reading it. But there is a liberty for you as a writer to be able to write the way you feel. Of course, editors, and they are here, Nosim and others, will be able to see the kind of things they can put in the story and how to edit it. But still, please write your story. One of the things that happens is that once we lose our memories and our past, then there is nothing forward to look for in the future. And all the things any regime does, it destroys a people's memory. Any regime that doesn't want to look at the past always destroys a people's memory. And that's exactly what happened, even the Mau memory, the KPU memory, the DTM memory, the Makenya memory, and even the Israel regime, when they wanted to conquer the PLO, the first thing they did is to destroy the archives of PLO. So any regime must always be able to destroy memory. And we don't want us to be able to destroy this memory for the future. Why this book is important for Onyango of Odour Ong'wen? I think it is the first account for us written, particularly for me, the story of the underground. I think we have never completely been able to know the generation, what happened, for example, from the struggles of KPU, from DTN, from Kenya. I remember interviewing Wahu and interviewing Githethwa Nguthi. I don't know exactly what happened in Tanzania once he went for exile, but Ong'wen puts it very, very clearly. I was even excited to know exactly what happened after Kenya. Mekaremo, Mekatili Liberation Movement. I was excited to know what happened to Wake. And all those things that we read and we hear about. So thank you so much, Ong'wen, for that story. And I thank you because you have been able to hide some facts. Of course, there are some facts I could find. Like, for example, I could not see the transition from Mekaremo to Uganda. I could not see that. But I said, okay, I know how it happened. So thank you so much for that. And we would like comrades to continue writing. Wahu, others who are here. Let us continue writing. And I repeat what has been said, that without glimpses into the past, we cannot look positive in the future. And we cannot think about the future without looking at our past. And this is what exactly they are trying to massacre, and we cannot be able to accept that. So thank you so much, even the committee have been here. And I know Pamoja Tashinda. In the words of the song for this evening, Aluta?
Continue.
Aluta?
Continue.
Thank you so much.
Let's give it up to our brother Njuki Githethwa, who continues to do an important job. When we were in the green room, with the permission of Oduor, His Excellency, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, remember that one of the people who went without leaving us a good book is the late Njonjo. You know Charles. And you know Charles knew many things. Your Excellency, when you come to speak, you may want to tell these comrades why you think Charles didn't want to write his memoirs. What could be the reason? But that will be when His Excellency comes up to speak. Modoni, I wanted to, what do you think about Nyaleale, as I call the Honorable Yusuf Hassan, even from where we are? But you can come and lead us as we welcome Honorable Yusuf Hassan to prepare and come on stage. He's one of our key speakers. Nyaleale, Giduk is with you? Yes?
Mambo, mambo ya ukoloni, mambo, mambo ya ukoloni, watu wetu wawa, kila mali, yote kwa makombo wanayotupiwana, limu wanyonyaji nchini mwetu, ile mambo ni yale, mambo ya ukoloni, mambo ni yale, mambo ya ukoloni. Jetu wa Kenya, tolea jasho, kile kizuri tukiwa mabaki, ambapo ingekuwa kile kinono. Jetu wenyewe, tolea jasho. Mambo ni yale, mambo ya ukoloni, mambo ni yale, mambo ya ukoloni. Tunanunua kuni, misitu yetu tiririkwa na jasho, ardhi yetu ya wadhalimu tukalia ya jasho letu ile ile. Mapito nastimiko adungosi ile ile katilili cheyam kaluki karilindutu yupe mwingine. Mambo ya ukoloni. Tutabonda bonda minyororo ya wadhalimu. Tutavunja vunja, tutakataka. Tutabonda bonda minyororo ya wadhalimu. Tupamoja nawe, mashujaa wa Kenya. Tupamoja nawe, mashujaa wa Kenya. Show ya wazalendo yatuambia kwamba ungane ni mikono, ndio adui wetu, mami ya utajiri zetu wenyewe, rahiye matunda ya jasho letu. Show ya wazalendo yatuambia kwamba ungane ni mikono, ndio adui wetu, mami ya utajiri zetu wenyewe, rahiye matunda ya jasho letu. Tupamoja nawe, shujaa wa Kenya. Tupamoja nawe, shujaa wa Kenya. Tupamoja nanyi, shujaa wa Kenya. Hallelujah. Very good. I knew that because we are going to now flow to the end without interruption, we needed to remind ourselves that the struggle, as Isa Shivji says, cannot be timed, cannot be conditioned, because the struggle is about our lives and the choices that we have made. Now, please join me to welcome our comrade, the Honorable Yusuf Hassan, to now come and make his key remarks for this evening. Please join me in welcoming Yusuf. Oduor, you were telling us, as Honorable Yusuf comes, you were telling us at the RPP function that you were teaching at Kipsigis Girls when they came for you, and you told us a story about Honorable Yusuf. That is why I'm very happy that Honorable Yusuf is here to speak for himself. Welcome, Mheshimiwa Yusuf.
Thank you very much. Right Honorable Raila Odinga, fellow members of Parliament and Senate, colleagues and honorable members of the Nairobi County, comrades, friends, ladies and gentlemen. It's really a great pleasure and honor to be part of this important gathering to witness the launch of Stronger Than Faith, the story of our comrade Oduor Ong'wen and the Kenyan protracted struggle for liberation. Since the arrival of the European colonialism and imperialism on our shores and the misfortune of falling into the clutches of British colonialism, our history has continuously been a history of heroic struggle and resistance. Stronger Than Faith brilliantly documents this long struggle for freedom and democracy from the perspective of a committed activist who has played a pivotal role in this struggle. It provides an invaluable insight to our resistant history and to a better understanding of our dark past, and narrates the story of the men and women who at different times of this struggle rose to their historic roles and mounted multiple strategies to confront and eventually bring about the demise of the repressive Moi Kanu regime. It's a major and important contribution to our history of liberation, our history of struggle, and to the study of the history of resistance in Kenya. And I want to profoundly thank Oduor for this significant effort that would greatly enrich our understanding of our past and our history. This book consists of 5 sections. Section 1 covers the author's early life from 1958 to 1979. Section 2 covers his formative years at the University of Nairobi and a very important part of our struggle. Section 3 deals with his growing radicalization and the rise of organizations such as Kenya, the December 12th movement. And Section 5 focuses on the final stretch leading to the end of the Moi regime and the rise of a multi-party democracy. He also touches a bit on the last stages of colonialism, when the British colonialists used brutal violence to suppress the Mau Mau uprising. And I think that is a part of our history that is never discussed a lot, because only by physically and psychologically automizing almost the entire Kikuyu population of 1.5 million could colonial authority be restored. But even then, Kenya was marked as a white man's country. After the Second World War, thousands of retrenched British soldiers were given land here. And we were on the verge of becoming an apartheid white state, just like South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Namibia. It is with the effort of the Mau Mau that stopped that British campaign to make this a colonial white country. Virtually the entire population of 1.5 million were rounded up and screened during the emergency. Many of these people were put in concentration camps all over the central Kenya region. Just 4 years before Oduor was born in the village of Udenda in Siaya, the colonial government had put thousands of those people under barbed wire concentration camps under their control. However, the Mau Mau resistance accelerated our independence and made us free at last in 1963. During the Moi regime, we also suffered considerable human atrocities. I witnessed the Kisumu massacre of 1969 as a young man. I grew up in South Nyanza, and I saw dead bodies lying around. The first experience I had of the repressive nature of the Kenyan state. We also had the Bulakartasi massacre of 1982 in Garissa, the Malka Mary massacre in Mandera, the Wagala massacre of 1984. And therefore, many of these areas of state repression are not documented very well. And I'm glad that, in fact, we have a person from the resistance, from our side, narrating this particular story. Stronger Than Faith is timely and comes at a critical time in the political history of our country, a time of reflection and rethinking about the future political direction of our country, at a time when an overwhelming majority of our population, who are young people under the age of 25, are unaware of the long history of resistance. There are many people who leave alone any understanding of the colonial period, have little or no knowledge of the atrocities and excesses of the Moi regime. This book comes at a time when there is denial or rejection of our history of independent struggle and liberation, when there appears to be a deliberate effort to white out, to rewrite, erase or reverse the history of our resistance, and where the heroes and heroines who sacrificed everything have been forgotten, belittled, or radicalized. In his foreword to the book, His Excellency Raila Odinga says, between the pages of this memory is a history of a period of this country that is hardly taught in our schools and is fast receding into the halls of the insignificant as a younger generation born mostly free in a progressive nation takes over. And he calls for the preservation of our memories by those who witnessed and participated in it. Our historical memory, which consists of our shared interpretation of our nation's past, is part of our social reality. They say a nation and a people who do not value or hold their history are destined to repeat it. History repeats itself, they say, first as a tragedy, then as a farce. I first met the young Oduor Ong'wen, Alice Tumaini Juma, some 32 years ago in Dar es Salaam, when we were both in exile and engaged in the struggle for change in Kenya. He had just fled Tanzania, I don't know, for the second time in as many years, to escape the close of the increasingly brutal Kenyan state, which had then declared an all-out war against its citizens. I was already in exile for a decade, where we had formed the Committee for the Release of Political Prisoners in London in 1982, with other progressive Kenyans, such as the late Wanjiru Kihoro, whom we're going to mark her 16 years of her departure just next week. Ngugi wa Thiong'o, our poet Nash Abdulatif Abdallah, Asumbi Langi, Wanyiri Kihoro, Shadrach Guto, and Nish Matenjwa. And we were supported by Solidarity supporters, people of African descent, like John LaRose, who was our host and chairperson, Dorcas Howe, CLR James, Tariq Ali, Dorcas Howe, Linton Quist Johnson, and Tajuddin Abdurrahman and Pat Howe, among many others. As the state repression intensified, more and more Kenyans fled the country to neighboring Uganda and Tanzania. On a debriefing mission to take stock on the pulse of our struggle and engage face-to-face with comrades in the struggle. And I found the confident Oduor, revolutionary, in the front line of that period. I must say that Oduor Ong'wen is an extraordinary person with exceptional skills. He was a gifted student who became a student leader, a political prisoner, a freedom fighter, and a revolutionary activist. Like his life, his memoirs forced the tour of Kenya's political struggle, touching on every resistance to colonial rule, to the Kenya Land and Freedom Army, the Mau Mau movement by Dedan Kimathi. It provides first-hand knowledge of what happened inside Kenya among the people who were involved in that struggle and movements of that resistance. He also writes for the first time how the Kenyan resistance was evolving into an armed struggle and how close we were to launch an armed liberation against the Moi regime that would have forever changed the nature and form of our political struggle. And I can confirm that had 1992's change of constitution take place, we were ready. We were training our young people to start an armed struggle. And in fact, some of the members of the movement and sections of the movement, like the February 18 movement and the Kenya Patriotic Movement, had already sent young cadres inside the country to begin the liberation struggle. He highlights and records the roles of many men and women who were engaged in our second liberation. Among our midst today is an icon and a historical figure who has played a monumental role in our second liberation, Raila AMOLO Odinga. He's a political giant, shujaa wa ukombozi wetu. The political victory of 2002, which led to the defeat of the old one-party dictatorship and ushered in a new era of multi-party democracy, was a major leap forward in our protracted democratic struggle. It didn't come free. It came with the blood, sweat, and tears of our comrades. It was a paradigm shift that opened new vistas and ushered in our second liberation. In pursuit of higher strategic goals, the progressive movement entered into an unavoidable compromise. However, despite the major successes, forging a relatively progressive nation with the introduction of a new constitution, with a Bill of Rights, which guarantees and entrenches fundamental freedoms, Kenya remains a highly unequal society, where a significant percentage continues to live in abject poverty, where hunger stalks many communities, where the dreams of equity and social justice are a far cry. Our political leadership and the ruling elite continue to disappoint, and our country continues to underperform and fail its citizens. It is a time of growing uncertainty and economic crisis. The state has failed to create an enabling environment for growth and equity. There are fears that our nation is losing its sense of direction. As I read through Oduor's memoirs and revisit the historic and important political advances we have made in recent years, I must say that we are very, very far from the economic emancipation that would have lifted millions of our people from the morass of poverty and underdevelopment. We remain in the clutches of a cruel economic system. And I look towards Karl Marx, who gave us a better understanding and clarity to the dialectical relationship between the old and the new, and the dilemma we find ourselves in today. In his 18th Brumaire of Louis Bonaparte, he stated, "Men make their own history, but they don't make it as they please. They don't make it under self-selected circumstances, but under circumstances existing already, given and transmitted from the past. The tradition of all dead generation waits. The traditions of dead generations waits like a nightmare on the brains of the living. And just as they seem to be occupied with revolutionizing themselves and things, creating something that did not exist before, precisely in such epoch of revolutionary crisis, they anxiously conjure up the spirits of the past to their service. That is why we need to be eternally vigilant, defend and protect our democratic gains, and redouble our efforts in the just struggle for equity and social justice for all. I want to give a message to the young people of Kenya. My challenge to you is to discover your mission. In the words of Frantz Fanon, every generation must, out of relative obscurity, discover its mission, fulfill or betray it. When you discover it, you will find it's an irresistible urge and a burning desire to work and act on it. I want to say that we have a long way to go. And I would like to finish by the quote from a song by our national poet Abdulatif Abdallah, wasafiri msichoke, safari ni ndefu. Aluta continua, Victoria etc. Msichoke, tuendelee mbele, tubadilishe nchi yetu, tulete mageuzi halisi ambayo yatawainua wanyonge na tuwe na uhuru kamili wa uhuru na kiuchumi. Asanteni sana.
Mama Mheshimiwa Wahu Kahara to come and give her remarks at this important occasion. This is one revolutionary who has worked very closely with Oduor over the last 3 decades, and it has been a huge impact in our social and economic transformation as a country. Mheshimiwa Wahu.
Our Excellence, our own President, Raila AMOLO Odinga. People speak what is in their hearts. I have spoken what's in my heart. And it has been said very well that this gathering does not observe the obvious protocols. So I'm not observing any protocol, because I'm addressing comrades. Comrades, fever! Comrades, fever! A luta continua! A luta continua! And victory is certain. Victory is certain. It's not very far. Ndugu Ong'wen, Ndugu Ong'wen, ni nini hiki umezaa ama umezalisha ama kimezaliwa? Haya ni maajabu ya utu. And I will not go very far from the title of the book, because I have not even seen the book. I was told to come here yesterday. But from the title of the book, Stronger Than Faith. What is that can be stronger than faith? I'll tell you, and I am a retired teacher and still ongoing. And I read history, I teach history, and I learn history. So I will speak the title of this book from that perspective. And what is stronger than faith is patriotism. Patriotism. Patriotism, uzalendo. Tuko hapa kwa sababu ya mzalendo ndugu yetu Oduor Ong'wen. I have no, sina tashwishi, hata siwezi kuogopa kusema hakuna mzalendo ambaye mwingine tungeongea juu yake wakati huu kuliko ndugu Oduor Ong'wen. And when we talk about patriotism, the good thing about patriotism, and that is why it is stronger than faith, because it's a spirit that nobody can kill. No forces of arms, misinformation, miseducation can kill patriotism. When a human spirit decides to locate itself on patriotism, nothing can shake that. And that's why comrades have always continued to say, even before us, the struggle goes on, a luta continua, and we even affirm victory is certain, like I'm affirming here. And I'm happy because we have talked about the struggle. I am happy because we are not shy of the struggle. And we are saying the struggle is ongoing. Where are the fighters? That is the question. And I think this launch of this book is making a wake-up call to anyone who imagines or who envisions a world that can work good for humanity. And it is because our comrade and brother Oduor Ong'wen has walked this march and has walked with other people and continues to walk. My celebration tonight is because I have lived that struggle, and I have believed that the struggle will continue and victory is ours. We know people went to exile, others went to prison, others went wherever. But hardly do we even remember there were others who remained home and were doing all those things. They were in a bigger prison, they were in a tougher jail, and they were everywhere that nobody was there. We who were left behind, my late husband, Karawa Macharia, went to exile, and we became like we have a contagious problem. The day they threw out Mama Aida Odinga from Kenya High School, the following day they came to throw me out of a school I was in Muranga called Geda Girls. So you can see we are living to tell without bitterness. We are living to tell without bitterness. I am a happy Kenyan woman, African, and especially when I'm standing here to celebrate this launch of what is stronger than faith, patriotism. What can I say when in this sitting I see my one and only teacher, Professor Edward Oyugi, who provoked my patriotism as a young girl at the university. I remember that psychology lesson when you provoked my young mind to understand that society is class stratified. And I was getting an education to serve the class that does not care about other people. And you posed a question, what would be our choice? I chose the choice, and we have walked with you, Professor. Many ways. When you are in prison, you know I came to see you. Those who are in exile, I can see Waroiru here. You saw me in Tanzania, even if I was a civil servant. I could cross borders and come back home. Why not? And as I say this, I am happy to see my own son here. If my eyes are not giving me away, I can see Maora Kara here. So the struggle is ongoing. The struggle is ongoing, and victory is certain. The only energy that you must arm yourself with is patriotism. I like microphones, especially when we are talking about patriotism. I can be here longer than perhaps the time that I'm allowed. But I want just to say, we sitting here is a celebration. Launching this book written by our own Oduor Ong'wen is a celebration. And having one of our own, Comrade Raila AMOLO Odinga, among us, we have won. Sijui mnangojea mashindano gani ama ushindi gani? Ama mlikuwa mkishindana na nani? That book talks of where people were talking in whispers. Under the beds. You never even trusted your wife or your husband. You didn't know who was at the back or in front or at the side. But now we are here in one of the institutions that is built not for this kind of sessions. When they were building this institution, their vision was not us to come here and celebrate the launch Stronger Than Faith. This auditorium was built for other things. But do you see the truth? The truth sets humanity free. And that's why patriotism never go wrong, because it is built on the truth. It is built by those who can understand, appreciate, and choose to have truth that sets them free, to liberate their spirit, and they can die for what they believe in, and they can hold to the ideals that means a lot to their lives, and they can together work with one another and with each other, not for conspiracies and not for hide-and-seek games, but openness with a clear objective that justice is for all of us. And we will be brave, courageous, and speak truth to power.
Yes.
And say, like, for example, when they talk about debts, they should know why the debts are there. Because the debt is not money. You don't know me money or anything. It's the way you want to dominate and control my spirit as a being, as a nation, as society. And unless we call the right things for what they are, unless we stand up patriotically to deal with this institutionalized menace, which is very demonic, of oppression, of domination and control, a principality that very few people understand, a principality which is very well inbuilt across nations and across all continents. And that's why, as we talk about globalization today, and they say the globe is a village, all what we are being told is that that era is over, and now we need to globalize hope and to globally construct nations that allow people to pursue their self-determination and for the good of all, so that we emancipate our governance, our economics, our education, and our values, our everything, a total overhaul. New wine in new wineskin, those who understand that language. And for us patriots, there is no table to negotiate. It's either we are a Kenyan nation to build our own nation, as the preamble of our constitution talks about, and mark you, I was in the constitutional process, from the streets to Bomas. I was 521 delegate, and I went up to Katiba Watch, waking you up, you Kenyans, to defend your constitution, which you did not. So you must go back to the trenches and retrieve Article 1, sovereignty of the people. What is sovereignty of the people? Is to reconstruct and build a Kenyan nation, a Kenyan state with the Kenyan mind, so that we throw out these colonial hang-ups and heritages of reconstruction, of domination and control as a principality. So, my dear comrades, as we launch Stronger Than Faith, what is that? It is patriotism. And we celebrate a patriot son from Siaya, who I embrace, and you know I'm your Nyawanda. So, all these issues, today is a celebration. We have won one step, and one step can go 1,000 steps. I want to see the liberation of Kenya as I age gracefully, But I want to tell you, I have energy even to carry the 20 kilograms if you want with the AK-47, although the AK-47 is not necessary now. So, aluta, and victory, victory, hamuna salute, aluta, wewe wachana na zi simu, aluta, victory, victory. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That is our great Mwalimu Wahukara. This country is very fortunate to have people like this, and that is why we should be very brave. Oduor, you know, this election, the 2022 election, was a battle between those who wanted the story of Kenya not to be told and those of us who wanted the story of Kenya to be told. Are you aware of that? It was very evident. 2022, we were told that we should not talk about the history of this country. We were told that the only thing that we should say is Bwana asifiwe, and that's enough. But we say that's not enough, because our faith is not all about the vision of the Kenya we want. And Your Excellency, I want to say this, that since independence, one of the things that has happened in this country, since independence, is that the true mothers of the struggle have never had a chance to show what our vision was about. Those who have always been in the struggle have always been shortchanged. And that is why the co-wife, you know, if you give birth to an healthy baby and you give it to the co-wife who wanted the baby to die, can that co-wife give good food to the baby? The co-wife cannot, because she wanted the baby to die before the baby was born. And that is why even those who oppose the Constitution are now the ones who are being told that they can implement the Constitution faithfully. It's not possible. And Mama Wao, thank you so much for making that point very, very clear. Now, before we bring Oduor on stage, we have one remark from our comrade, our sister from Vita Books, Nosim Naimasia. Please welcome her to make a quick remark from Vita Books before we bring Odour Ong'wen on stage. Welcome on stage. Just a minute.
Thank you. Viva, comrades, viva!
Viva!
Viva, comrades, viva!
Viva!
Power to the people! Afrika moja! Afrika moja! Thank you very much, comrades, friends, and most importantly, Your Excellency, Raila Odinga, and our distinguished author, our celebrated author, Odour Ong'wen, for giving us this opportunity to be here. And we are very excited to have published this book and to have been involved in the publishing of this book, a very important book. My name is Nosim Naimasia, and I'll be representing our publisher, Vita Books, Struggle Books. I would like to share a few thoughts with you this evening on publishing in Kenya and the critical nature of Stronger Than Faith, my journey in the quest for justice in repressive Kenya, 1958 to 2015. This book is released at a significant juncture in our country, at a time when history as an academic subject, as a social discourse, as an existential necessity, is being alarmingly erased from the public sphere. As my friend said to me recently, we still have to make the argument that we are real peoples, and in the 21st century, to Africans. From the historical studies of the 7423 curriculum in post-independent Kenya, to the partitioned GHC, which is what I learned, of the Moy's 844 system, to the current nebulous social studies of the CBC curriculum, the concerns have moved from decolonizing pedagogy and history to having any history at all taught in our schools. And we see the carnage wrought on a generation of people who do not know who they are. The intimate violence, the suicides, the murders that have become a normalized staple on our televisions are in great part the consequence of a people who do not know where they are coming from and who do not know where they are going. And that is exactly what our author, Oduor Ong'wen's book, seeks to do. Show us to ourselves in the most visceral form of our humanity. It is only in this way that victories can be celebrated and repeated, our pain understood and healed, and our patterns of failure exposed and learned from. I'll start by giving a few details about Vita Books and indicate why it chose to publish the book we have all gathered here to launch. Vita Books is an independent Kenyan publisher supporting people's struggles to create societies based on the principles of equality and justice. It aims to redress working people's lack of power over information, communication, and the media, which then restricts their access to ideas and experiences to resist imperialism. It strives to connect and unite progressive people everywhere in their battles for justice and equality for everyone. It publishes material with focus on people's resistance to imperialism and their struggle for socialism. It is one of the organizations that set up Ukombozi Library and works closely with it. As a publisher working with the library, we connect with a number of community groups whose libraries we support by donating titles published by Vita Books. A book launch like this is usually a good occasion to talk about books. So today we would like to share our thoughts on a few books that have had an impact on Kenya, its history, and its people. This is particularly relevant at the book, as the book we are launching today is one that will definitely have such an impact. The first book is by Barnett and Jama, 1996, Mau Mau from Within. There is no time at this busy event to get into the details about this book, but suffice it to say that it provided perhaps the first detailed published account on Mau Mau, a subject not yet fully explored by our history. We wonder if this title made it to your list. The second book on our list has defined an entire era of post-independence Kenya. It is simple, titled, Captured the Imagination of Several Generations. This is Oginga Odinga's Not Yet Uhuru in 1967. The book sums up the struggle for liberation in Kenya from colonial forces, but perhaps more significant, it examines the obstacles to Uhuru, which is where Kenya took a wrong turn and fell into the clutches of imperialism. Significantly, the foreword is by Kwame Nkrumah. This is a book you should have on your bookshelf. The third book is an unmatched record of the trade union movement in Kenya by Makan Singh, the history of trade union movements in 1992. Not in 1992, sorry, 1952. It documents the author's detention and house arrest in India for almost 5 years and in Kenya. And this did not stop him from documenting perhaps the only comprehensive history of the trade union movement in Kenya. History and Kenyans would have been poorer without this record of the struggles of the working class, which came to influence the National War of Independence. The fourth book is remarkable in that it very nearly did not get published. Authored by the underground December 12 movement, Independent Kenya, circulated in Kenya as a cyclo-cited book in the early 1980s to avoid Moi's security network. It was through the links that DTM had overseas that it was sponsored by the Journal of African Marxists and published by Z Books. As the book notes, the Kenyan authors of this book have to remain anonymous because they are still in their country. This book highlighted the process of neo-colonialism and the sale of independence by KANU and Jomo Kenyatta. Independent Kenya summed up Kenyatta's rule of loot, murders, and massacres. Umoja's publication, Moi's Reign of Terror, came to define a period in the history of Kenya in a way few other books have done. MRT influenced the minds of people and recorded history that would otherwise have been forgotten. It rightfully belongs to essential reading lists on the history of Kenya after independence. The next book, Shirad Zurani's Kenya's War of Independence, Mau Mau and its Legacy of Resistance to Colonialism and Imperialism. This book restores Kenya's stolen history to its rightful place, stripped of colonial interpretation. It covers Mau Mau's resistance to colonialism and neocolonialism and reflects on its ideology. The last book is today's book. Ong'wen Oduor's 2022, Stronger Than Faith, My Journey for Justice in Repressive Kenya. The title carries two words that define Kenya after independence: repression and the struggle for justice. The book records the author's struggle for social justice during the repressive period of 1970 to 1990. But in doing so, he documents the history of the country in a way that few other authors have done. It is a contest between the pen and the gun that became the struggle during Moi's reign of terror. We feel that the book deserves to be on this list, and we shall see at the end of the event if you agree. Finally, a word about the availability of books published by Vita Books. They are all available for loan at Ukombozi Library, and we welcome anybody who has not joined the library for a small fee to do so. We have over 1,000 books that are relevant to the history of Kenya. Vita Books are also available for purchase at the bookshop mentioned in the brochure that you have been given. And they're also available worldwide from the African Books Collective. Thank you very much. Ukombozi Library is at University Way. It's located at University Way, next to the White Hotel. What is it called? Safari. Yes, next to Lillian Towers. You're all very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nasim, for giving us a small background in terms of the work that Vita Books does, and why Odour Ong'wen's book, Stronger Than Faith, and we have been told by Mama Wau that what is stronger than faith is what? Did you get that? What is stronger than faith? Patriotism. Yeah, so we want to see at the end of the launch whether this book truly fits the bill as we have been told by Nasim. Now, DJ, where's our thing, you see? Rise, except for His Excellency. Can we rise? There's a reason I'm telling you. I want us to put our hands together and show love to my brother Odour Ong'wen. There's only one person in this room who knows Odour's baptismal name.
No, it's there. The book.
Not everybody has read it. Not everybody has read it. And you know, Odour, all these members in the struggle, we used to know their baptism name when we used to go to jail to give them bail. That is when we used to know their names. Even Njuki Githethwa has his baptism name. It is actually Oscar or something like that. Okay, so even Mwandawiro, imagine Mwandawiro Julius has a baptism name. So, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, with your permission, I want us to put our hands together to welcome our author, our comrade, and our brother, and our friend, Odour Ong'wen. Put our hands together for Odour Ong'wen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Take it away, Odour. Asante sana.
My sister Mudhoni, can you join me up? In fact, I think they should not be sitting, isn't it?
Sitwaenda na haki. Kufungwa jela, webaki nyuma, sitwaenda na haki. Na kupigwa rungu, webaki nyuma, sitwaenda na haki. Kupigwa rungu, webaki nyuma, sitwaenda na haki. Iya, sitwaenda na haki. Kulala njaa, webaki nyuma, sitwaenda na haki. Hata shimo la tewa, webaki nyuma, sitwaenda na haki. Shimo la tewa, webaki nyuma, sitwaenda na haki. Simama imara. Hey, simama, 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 simama imara. Hey, simama ndugu, simama, simama, simama imara. Oh, simama, 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 simama imara. Pamoja tuashinda. Hey, pamoja. Pamoja tuashinda. Hey, pamoja ndugu. Pamoja tuashinda. Hey, pamoja. Pamoja tuashinda. Viva Wazalendo, viva! Viva Wazalendo, viva! Long live Kenyans, long live! Asanteni. Where I come from, they say if you organize a beer party, you don't get drunk in it. So I will have very few words to say. But before I do so, between the pages of this book, there is somebody Kenyans have been asking. And who is this? I saw a turncoat who is also documented in this book. A person whose things we burned because of betraying the cause of democracy, asking, who is Makau Mutua? Makau, can you come in 2 minutes, tell them who you are? Comrade. Viva!
Forward!
Thank you very much, Oduor. It would not be appropriate for me to tell you who I am. But what I will say is this. A couple of months ago, Oduor told me that he was writing a memoir, an autobiography. And I panicked when I thought about it. And I panicked because we were born in the same year. And in my mind, when you write a memoir or an autobiography, it means that the runway that is left between you and the time that you meet your maker is getting shorter and shorter. So I began to think about my mortality. But then I remembered that the written word never dies. And one thing that our country needs to do is to learn how to write and how to write our history. And especially those individuals who have participated in making it. If you look at the bookshelves, I think there are no more than 30 books written by the founding fathers and mothers of this country, which means that our history is taught by others, it's not taught by us, which means that others think for us, we do not think for ourselves. And you know, those who do not think for themselves are dominated by those who do. And so I want to thank my brother, my comrade, Odour Ong'wen, for having the courage in my generation to write a book about himself, which is really not a book about himself, it's a book about our struggles. And Oduor, I want to say thank you so much to you, and I want to say finally just one thing before I get off the stage. In the history of this country, there has been a struggle between two opposing forces. There is a right and center right, and there is a left and center left. In the recent past, by which I mean the last 25, 30 years, the Honorable Raila AMOLO Odinga has been the personification of that faction of the country of the left and center left. But I just want to say something else which is more important than even that. And that is that that faction of the left and center left has never been permitted to govern this country, to show what it can do, to liberate this country, to have this country realize its potential. You saw what happened in August. That story is a story of this country's history since its independence. And what I want to say to you, and if you look at my brother's book, we have all the brains, we on the left and center left. But we have not managed to capture the state. And one of the questions we want to ask ourselves is why that is the case. Okay? Why? Is the other side so devious and so organized than us? Or are we so disorganized ourselves? I want to say that Oduor's book shows that we are organized. We drive change. But on the other side, together with the forces of retrogression across the globe, have always denied us our victory. And they did so again this year in August. We saw it at the IBC and we saw it at the Supreme Court. But make no mistake about it, we are not resting. Stay tuned.
Thank you very much, Makau, although you have very, very cleverly evaded telling us who you are. But I want to tell you this. This path we have walked was blessed by the lights of Makau Mutua. Some 41 years ago, to be precise, on 15th of May, 1981, it happened that the KANU regime had decided against the wishes of people of Bondo and Busia South to deny Jaramogi Oginga Odinga in Bondo and William Bifu in Busia South a ticket to participate in the elections. And there was also ongoing repression of our doctors, and the doctors had gone on strike. So we, as students of the University of Nairobi, decided to demonstrate against that action. As we were battling with the police along the streets of Nairobi, some 6 students decided to walk to Nation House. That time it was on Tomboya Street. And call on the state and university authorities to expel what they call the ringleaders. And they pleaded with the nation not to publish their names, which nation honored. It didn't publish their names, but it published their picture. So the following day, which was a Saturday, 16th of May, 1981, 13 students, among them Makau Mutua, were expelled. And because those names were because the picture was published, of course, by breakfast, everybody has to identify those students and their room numbers. One of them was called Moses Wetangula. Another one was called James Kelonye. And another one was called Justin Muturi. That is who Makau Mutua is. And that is what he didn't want to tell you. So when somebody tells you that somebody goes to Harvard and calls himself a professor, you should ask him who drove him to Harvard. I think when Wetangula tweeted that and I replied, he shut up because he knew he was one of the people who drove Makau out of this country. And Your Excellency, as I said, I'm not going to talk much because what I could say is in that book. But there are 3 things I want. Foregoing speakers have said. In this world, you have only 2 choices. You can choose to make a difference. Hello, comrades? You can choose to, or you can choose to be indifferent. The choice is yours. At every stage in our history, there are those who choose to let things be. If you are colonized, good enough. We'll be loyal subjects. If we are oppressed by neo-colonial set, let it be. That's good enough. And we are always told that you must have faith in your leaders because they know better than you. Comrade Waukara has told us that there's something stronger than faith, and that is what we are talking about today. And mine is not about to talk about history, although what I document here has happened. I'm talking about the future of this country. Hello, comrades? It's about the future of this country. Because if we continue talking in past tense, where's the future of this country? Ruth Mumbi, is the struggle dying? Young people who are here, some of these people you see here, and I'm going to call some of them to stand up, can account for what they did with their youth. Our young people who don't want even to be called the leaders of tomorrow, they are saying they are leaders of today. I'm challenging you to stand and lead this country, because this country is headed to the dogs. This country is dying. And if you don't know, the first act of the non-thieves that have now taken the levers of the state, the first act was to legalize genetically modified foods. That is a death sentence to the Kenyan farmer. It's a death sentence to the people of this country. I grew up in a situation where my mother would go to where she was born and borrow seeds to come and plant. With GMOs, we are going to have something called monoculture. Ask yourself why farms like the transnational farms like Monsanto have built serious bases in this country and are pushing us to go for GMOs. In the last chapter of this book, titled The Eating Chiefs, and that is because we covered only some short period. It was less than 3 years into the then new regime. Within those 3 years, more than 22 mega scandals, corruption scandals had taken place. 2 trillion shillings in 3 years. They're there in the last chapter of this book. And that's why we titled it, The New Eating Chiefs. Because where I come from again, there is a group of elders called Jodongaich. These are elders that judge according to what they receive. Literally translated is like the elders of the stomach. But it's not about corruption, comrades. Corruption, all these things you are seeing, these are symptoms. We must go to the root of how our society is organized and get rid of this cancer. But at every stage we are outmaneuvered. I think for the 7th time, this last week, I spent again reading Jaramogi's Not Yet Uhuru. And you look at how these people resisted the nationalists like Jaramogi, who are insisting on true independence. But when, and they were saying even Kenyatta should not be released. But when it became inevitable that Kenya was going to be independent, how they outmaneuvered, captured Kenyatta, and Jaramogi became people's enemy number one, according to them. To the extent that they could even order Kenyatta remove his name from the list of ministers. And Kenyatta could obey. And that is what has happened in this country over and over and over again after independence and even after we restored multipartyism. Our recent elections were not stolen by Ruto and Gachagua. Ask yourself, if the British High Commissioner could be in a discussion group with Ruto's strategy team. I'm saying this because this is captured. It was there. Discussing strategy long before the elections. Ask yourself the timing of the sending here of the U.S. ambassador to Kenya. His Excellency will confirm. I had to move out of bed. I had just been operated on in August last year. I was still supposed to be out of duty. Then we got information of the tender that was being given to Smartmatic. And we tried. So it's not that we were caught unawares by Smartmatic. But at every stage, they knew what they wanted. Hello, are we? So I'm trying to remind you that if you are not ready for the long haul, my friends, you can surrender. However, when I see the young energies in this room, we have worked with for 40 years, and are not giving up. When I see my mentor, my comrade, my boss, Raila AMOLO Odinga, not giving up, who are you to do so? Who are you? Somebody told us that the reason why our elections were stolen, and please look at the board of Smartmatics. You'll see that a former president of the United States of America is a member of the board of Smartmatics. And is somebody some of you might even have admired. And they said, not again to have a Magufuli in East Africa. So this thing was not being done here in Karen. This was a global conspiracy. I know I'm surprising some of you, but it's the reality. Because I was taught to say what I know. If I didn't know, I wouldn't say it. But let me give you hope. The spirit of the struggle, just like Waukara said, can never die. It is stronger than faith. And there are so many spaces of struggle. One of the spaces is the National Museums of Kenya. Another space is writing history and living that history. Another one is walking the streets and saying no to oppression, no to dictatorship, no to exploitation. But for us to do that, we can't sit at National Museum and agonize. We must organize. As I said, I don't want to get drunk in my own beer party. So I want to ask comrades that have gone through Nyayo House, have gone through committee, have gone through exiles, And those who lived on the other side of prison, like Wahukara, like Ruth Olo, the brother Onyango Lo, you know, most of you know his history. I don't know whether Hannah Wangare is here. She didn't come. The daughter to Peter Yankihara. And so on. Can you kindly stand so that these fellow comrades can appreciate you? Warwinu and others, please.
The ones who are in prison and the ones who are on the other side of prison.
Yes.
Yes. Very good.
No, and including, hello, Jaskan, including the young Ong'wens here, because they were also on the other side of prison.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Viva Revolution, viva!
Viva!
Viva Wazalendo, viva!
Viva!
Aluta continua.
Very good. Stay there, stay there. Ni shujaa hodari wetu.
Ni shujaa Ong'wen wetu. Ni shujaa Ni shujaa Ong'wen wetu. Ni shujaa. Ndio maana tunasema 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 ni shujaa. Ni shujaa na wazalendo. Ni shujaa na ni shujaa. Ni shujaa, ndio maana tunasema ni shujaa. 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 Ni shujaa, Raila wetu. Ni shujaa. Tunasema ni shujaa. Ndio maana tunasema ni shujaa. Ndio maana tunasema ni shujaa. Kiongozi Raila wetu, kiongozi Raila wetu, kiongozi Raila wetu, kiongozi Raila wetu, kiongozi. Ndio maana tunasema ni shujaa. Ndio maana tunasema ni shujaa. Ndio maana tunasema ni shujaa. Ndio maana tunasema
umoja uangaze Afrika, tulenge lengo la ukombozi, tulenge lengo la ukombozi. Ndugu Yusuf alitoa roho yake iende kulinda nafsi zetu. Uangaze Afrika, tulenge lengo la ukombozi, tulenge lengo la ukombozi, tulenge lengo la ukombozi. Oleyo! Oh!
Haya. Comrade power. Comrade power. Haluta continua. Haluta continua. Hello. It's now more audible, eh? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jambo tena. Wow, this is a wonderful evening. I listened to several comrades here. I feel very inspired by what I've heard since I came to this auditorium today. I listened to Wahu talk like a true revolutionary. And I got very, very encouraged. We have come here today to launch a book stronger than faith, that's Oduor Ong'wen. As you can see, I'm the one who wrote the foreword to that book. So can I show you, I've read it from Genesis to Revelation. It is a chronicle of historical facts about our country. It has stated where we've come from and where we're going. I've said before, and Macau repeated it, that from independence right through there have been two forces pulling in opposite direction in our country. One, the forces of retention of the status quo versus the forces for change and development. This struggle has been consistent right from the word go up to now. It has sometimes been peaceful, sometimes it has been violent. It has cost lives of our people sometimes. It's against that background that you can explain several historical facts that have taken place in our country. Assassination of P. Ogama Pinto in 1964, the assassination of Tom Mboya, J.M. Kariuki, and so on forth and so forth. The political detention that took place from the 60s going upwards. Before independence, the nationalist movement brought our people together to fight for independence from British colonialism. That was a massive movement that united all our people irrespective of their ethnic backgrounds. But immediately independence came, then the differences emerged. The neo-colonial state was recreated. Some colonial laws were introduced in our statutes. The nationalist movement played on the issue of land, which is essentially what the main reason for struggle for independence. The issue was, how do we treat the issue of land? There are those who said, the British came and said, the settlers are trying to leave the country. We are ready to give you a loan to buy the land of the set, which has been occupied by the settlers. The nationalist movement was split in this. Those who said, yes, let us take the loan and buy the land to settle our people. Those who said, why should we buy our land from the British? They took it for free. They farmed it for over 60 years. If anything, they're the ones who should pay us compensation. Those forces who said, let us buy, were called the moderates, the pro-capital. The names are known. Those who said, no, let's take the land, those are the extremists, the communists. That is what started the struggle for change and retention of status quo. It has been very consistent. So the world has actually tried to explain it so well in the book. Now I've seen Oduor has got 2 birthdays. I don't know which is which. One is 58, one is 60. But I know that there are so many of my contemporaries who also had several birthdays. The real birthday and the one that were given in school. And this is explained how he grew up in the rural area there. His father is 31 years older than his mother. All the same. And he was a Christian who was allowed, because of mutations, to marry in church, although he married more than one wife. And all of them was married them in the church. He has explained that story very well in the book. Then he has come to now the struggle for change. How an event here in Nairobi inspired a young schoolboy who was going to high school to become a revolutionary. The assassination of J.M. Kariuki in Nairobi. It was triggered him to become a revolutionary. But at that time when J.M. was being killed, several things were happening here. So we remember during the debate on the J.M. story, when Martin Shikuku said that you want to kill this place like the way they killed Kanu. And when it was asked to substantiate how Kanu was dead, the speaker, or then who was in the chair, J.M. Sirone,